Today's guests are June Hunt Margolin, one of the founders and president of Huntington Matters, a group that began as a foundational initiative and later grew into a hub for community engagement. Joining her are Director Diane Schaber and Vice President Dana Elliot Richter, two dedicated members who have been part of this incredible journey. Welcome, June, Diane, Dana. I am so glad to have you here.
Thank you, Lisa. We're really happy to be here with you today.
So, before we get started with the interview, I think it's important to explain to the listeners that this has been a huge undertaking for our community. The project started very small and has grown through the years. I met June through the Parent Leadership Initiative, which is a community based program that gives community members the skills, the tools, the knowledge, and the empowerment to be able to go out and support their community. June applied to the program and was accepted. So, part of the first 6 months of her establishing this organization, she took courses and then from there moved forward and invested a lot of other time into building the organization. And what I would appreciate, ladies, is if you could just explain a little bit about yourselves so that people understand that this is your part-time volunteer initiative and that you all have very important scheduled lives so they can understand how you intertwine this. And then go into June, if you wouldn't mind, what inspired you to start Huntington Matters? What was your vision in the early days? And what the foundation was and the first steps you took to get the project off the ground.
My background is actually marketing, and I spent 12 years in the veterinary industry. So when Huntington Matters formed in 2014, I was working full time at Dix Hills Animal Hospital, close by. And we have cultivated Huntington Matters, this community organization, for a solid 10 years as volunteers, where we would work full time. I worked full time, Dana worked part time. Diane was retired, but basically, it's a passion. You know, we worked full time and then also managed the organization full time for me as well. So it was a big sacrifice for my family in a way, but they willingly made it. And they're very proud of the work that Huntington Matters has done and continue to support us to this day now that we've monetized in the last year. So we've all quit our day thing, and Huntington Matters is the only thing we're doing for the last year. So that's a whole new adventure, which we could talk about. Yeah, that's great. But yeah, so that's my background is mostly marketing and graphic design, and then veterinary. And also, I'm a parent of two children that were special needs when they were very young. So I had to do a lot of advocating for them at the time with the school district to get them the services that they needed. And that kind of paved the way for the same kind of method that I ended up using as a result to build Huntington Matters into what it is today.
Thank you.
Hi. So I, I grew up in Huntington. We moved here when I was 4, and I'm very, very passionate about the town. I worked in the city for a long time and then left that, became a photographer. I found my real true passion being a portrait photographer, and really started clicking with Huntington Matters, I guess, after you guys were up for about a year, 2015. You know, I couldn't help myself. I was drawn to the group and offered my services. June reached out to me. Would you like to help? And, that's all I needed was someone to open the door for me. So I jumped in helping with moderating in the group. And then anytime there was an event going on, jumping right out there to do photography for it. So for me, as I explained it to my family when, I was out doing events more than I was home, was I've got 2 daughters. I've got the whole crop of grandchildren. They were toddlers at the time, and, that they were important to me. I wanted to make sure that they were safe. I am a homeowner. I wanted to make sure my real estate investment, was protected. And the way things were going, that was, made us all a little nervous. So thank goodness Huntington Matters came along and really made a big difference in Huntington.
Excellent. Excellent. Diane?
I grew up in Huntington. I've been here just about 70 years. Always had a passion, always involved. My father was a big musician in the town, teacher. We were always in town at everything. I worked for 30 years at Huntington Hospital, which was where I was introduced to Huntington Matters when Maggie had died. And I worked and knew her dad very well. I had to stay on the outside of Huntington Matters because I was busy at work and raising a family of 3. But that's when I really started following and getting involved. When I was finally able to retire, I was reading the group and things just weren't going right. There weren't a lot of people working and helping, and moderating seemed to need some help. So I would just call June and just say, hey, listen, this one's doing this and this one's happening here and it's not right what they're saying. And then she eventually asked me if I would help. So I did. I've been doing that since 2018.
Yeah.
And now we've turned into such a big organization. And the whole community at times is involved in anything they want to know. If they have a question, if they need a job, if they want the restaurant, if it's something at the town they need, and we're able to help them. We have a little bigger team now helping us out, which is great because then we can go do more activities and be informed more about what's going on in the town. So that's why.
Thank you. Since you mentioned Maggie, can you just give a very quick backstory so other people understand the situation and where your compassion came into play?
Sure, absolutely. Maggie Rosales was an 18-year-old high school student at my son's high school. She was a few years older than he was. And she was murdered at the end of my street, about 8 houses away, a stone's throw from my son's bus stop. She was out. Had been off from school, and she was waiting for her cousin to pick her up to take her to a party when someone came from behind and murdered her. It was horrendous. Every murder is horrendous. Maggie's was the 4th murder in a 1-year period in a small area of Huntington Station. So I would just say it was maybe about a 3-mile radius in Huntington Station. And the other prior 3 murders were different causes, different reasons, different demographics. It was, kind of like, and then Maggie is a child and she was literally just stolen right off the street. She's one of our children. She rode the bus. We knew her, the community knew her, neighbors. She was raised here in the school district. So it was incredibly traumatic for the community. And now you're talking about Huntington Station, New York, is an area that's been plagued with violence and crime for ever since I was a little kid, and I'm 55 years old. So that we're always on the news for this is like every precinct area may have their hot spot, little kind of pocket of where the majority of the activity happens. Well, Huntington Matters was that. And in 2014, 2013, 2012, it was really building up again. And there was a lot of gang activity and a lot of kind of like open shootings, stabbings, like in the middle of the day in front of the ice cream store, bullets are flying. So like as a parent, I want my kids to be able to ride their bike to the ice cream store, and have that experience, but you can't because at 2 p.m, someone was shot across the street right in front of the ice cream store, or they weren't actually hit, but bullets were going. So Maggie's murder was a catalyst. It was a catalyst for, an entire community's dissatisfaction with the way that the police department managed our town, the services that we got from the police department, dissatisfaction with our elected officials, and feeling like they kind of served every other area of the town and threw all kinds of money in every other part of the town to make improvements, but left us alone and didn't invest here. And it just became, it was really enough. It was just, this is it. This is enough. So I, as a parent, actually found on Facebook, a Facebook friend of mine had started a march. It was called the Maggie Matters March in memory of her, and also to demand more from our elected officials. So this march was organized on Town Hall, and I just participated. I made a sign. I actually took the police tape that was left at the crime scene from Maggie's murder, which was hanging from the telephone pole at my son's bus stop. I cut that and I taped it across this poster board sign and made a big with the school bus and everything. And so I also became very active in the commenting on this Facebook event for the march, where I was sharing news articles and links and keeping people updated on things that I was learning about as well. And it became incredibly active. So we showed up for the march. They put me in the front. It was absolutely like nothing I've ever been at before. Every single demographic, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, to the point where I couldn't even get in to the auditorium during the town board meeting where we were all there to kind of show presence. I was in the parking lot.
You were outside?
I was outside, and we had to snake our way. I think, how many does the auditorium hold? At least 500, right, Diane? And so it was packed, and then everyone was lined up in the hall, sneak through the whole building, and we had to just be slowly fed in as people left. So at the very end of the meeting, I got inside. But it was really, really,
It was very powerful. We were inside.
really
Inside.
powerful. I was
Yes.
probably outside because they put me with the sign behind the podium. So that because the news cameras were in front of the podium. So I was the last to go in, you know. So it was really, really incredible. So the organizers of the march ended up afterward reaching out to me, and we kind of just started chatting in this messenger chat all together about what was going on. And the following week was the monthly second precinct community meeting, right? So usually 8 people went to this meeting, and this was a daytime 10 a.m. meeting at a local library, planned well in advance. 200 people showed up, including me. So we're sitting there, and I can tell you with 100% confidence that the Deputy Inspector Reed, who ran that meeting, was prepared to be peppered with questions specific to Maggie's murder and the prior murders, right? What evidence do you have? What are your suspects? What do you do? Like things like that, like police related things. And I can tell you, not one person asked anything like that. The feedback that they got was overwhelmingly that this happened to me too. We called the police, and the police officers come and say to you, what do you expect?
Yeah.
You live in Huntington Station.
Yeah.
Like literally, you call the police for help. They come, they help, and then that's their parting message to you. And I wasn't alone. There were so many people there that had the same experience. And it just was so telling. So also, we watched them whip right through Huntington Station to race to the other areas of town. The things we requested as a community in that meeting, and I was just a member of the community, were things like increased patrols, stop, talk to us. When you come, treat us with respect, with kindness, with compassion. You got to work on those 911 operators, the way they were speaking to you when you would call, even from the call center that's out in Yaphank, totally outside our community. But that was a major issue.
Yeah.
So, and what had happened was Within 24 hours of that meeting, the police started changing how they operate in the town of Huntington, which was completely mind-blowing to all of us. We were like, what? There were bike patrols that the police performed door-to-door surveys of the residents with forms. They polled the businesses about the quality of the service, and they immediately made changes. So this group chat that we were in, it was about 12 of us in this group chat, we kind of were like, wow, look at this. Like, they're actually listening and they're actually responding. So if we stop now, everything's just going to go back to the way it was. Right? So we have to continue to work together to continue to heal and fix what's broken in our community. So that really conversation is what formed Huntington Matters. So we had an in-person meeting, sat around a conference room table, a dozen of us, and ended up creating the Facebook group, Huntington Matters Community Forum. And then we also created the organization because immediately a local business said, oh, you guys want to start a neighborhood watch? I want to give you some money. Well, like, well, how does that work?
That never happens.
You know, like, what do you mean? You know, so because we were doing with the neighborhood watch piece, we were immediately assigned from the 2nd Precinct an officer to help us cultivate and build our neighborhood watch. She was our liaison with the 2nd Precinct. She's the one who handled neighborhood watch for the precinct territory. So I ended up creating this whole package of documents and following their plan of block captains and point people and text lists and all this stuff, and making this whole packet. So that donation helped us pay for all that printing, which was amazing. But we had to form an organization so we could cash the check.
Ah, okay.
This is because we couldn't take it as people. So the fastest organization type that we could form in New York State was the whatever we are. S Corp?
S Corp.
We're an S Corp, yeah. So you'll edit that out. The fastest organization type that we could form in New York State was an S Corp. While we did float around the idea of doing a non-for-profit, that takes about 1.5 years to put together. And then ultimately, it ended up over 10 years, has working very much, right, in our favor, not to be a non-for-profit. Not, which we were really surprised about. But it's what helped us get the volume of work done that we were able to accomplish. We were able to do these collaborations that we would never have been able to do, because every room we walked into in that first year, meeting with the various officials, was the question number one was, why aren't you a not-for-profit? If you were, I could give you money. So when you're hearing this from your county legislator that covers Huntington Station for 12 years and has turned a blind eye to every one of our policing needs, right? And we walk in and had our first meeting with him. He spent 20 minutes telling us how the county has no money. And then, boom, why aren't you a not-for-profit? Because if you were, I could get you some funding. So once we were able to take that right off the table, and it happened over and over and over again, not just with him, with towns, with others. And once that kind of got off the table, we would say, you know what? We don't need the money. We just want to get to work. How can we move past this? What can we do? What can we do to fix it?
To be involved and get, be part of everything. And so we all want to make a difference. Let me help.
Right. Exactly. So, so that was really impactful. And then the other thing that I found most helpful in these early days of building, because again, our number one concern was crime, because that's why we began. So equally as important in building the neighborhood watch and working with the officials and solving problems, I used this technique, which sounds insane. It really sounds like it shouldn't work, but it worked so perfectly. And that is when we met with these officials, and including the police inspector, the town board members, public safety, Suffolk County, New York State, any of the officials that we met with, they would always give you an update of what they've done, what they can do, etc. I would ask them this one question. If you had a magic wand and could do anything you want, could get anything you need, what would you want or need to be able to do the job better? They would answer it, and then we would break down their answer and we'd get to work. And that's how a lot of the bridges were built, because they wouldn't even realize that that was even a possibility, that any of their wish list items were even a possibility, right, to make happen.
I always try to use the phrase we act as a conduit between the community and the officials and law enforcement, because they're all off in their own world. And we try to bring everybody together. We try to bring the community in and say, well, the town officials, they're people, they're there to serve us. So let's go meet with them. Whereas most people in the community, and I was like this too, most people in the community don't realize that you can reach out to the town officials. You can reach out to law enforcement. You can actually request a meeting with them, and they'll meet with you.
They will. That's right. That's right. So a lot of powerful things happened as a result of that. And then the other big challenge when you begin an organization is buy-in, right? You need to have people that want to participate, that want to give you feedback, that want to join your Facebook group, things like that. So ours was incredibly organic, but if someone was planning on doing something like this for their community out of the gate, at the get-go, they completely can. You just have to reach out to like some of your key officials and over whatever your topic is. For us, obviously, Neighborhood Watch, and then also the town. And then you can meet with them and just start asking some general questions. So for us, what ended up happening is the outrage over the crime and Maggie's murder, and all the crime in general, was bringing up a lot of comments and statements and posts in this Facebook group that are people talking about their own experiences with the police from all over the area. So Huntington Station is one hamlet within a very large second precinct area. So we were hearing from people who lived in all the corners that typically we would have always considered to be far safer and not have the same issues we had. But guess what? They were pervasive for everybody. Precinct is precinct, right? So the other beautiful thing is that in our area, and I from experience working with admins and neighborhood watch leaders across the country, I can say that this is actually incredibly common. And that is that communities tend to self-segregate. So we end up, even if you think about your own bus stop, right? Think about raising your own. I mean, you, Lisa, so friendly. Nobody could. No way anybody could get away with not saying hello to Lisa. But so we have our bus stop here with kids of different ages and families. We have very diverse cultures in our area, and it gets to a point where like people are subconsciously pulling into small groups at the bus stop.
Cloistering.
Right. So it's your own neighborhood. These are literally the people who you could throw a rock and hit their house. Not that you would, but you could. And they won't even talk to you. Why? Because you live on that side of the street. I live on this side of the street. You have this culture. I have that culture.
Right.
And now when you get that more like a bigger picture kind of thing, and you look at the entire precinct area, we have you live in Huntington Station, I live in Melville. You are in this socioeconomic position, I'm in this socioeconomic position. So you end up self-segregate. We do it to ourselves. Everybody does. It's like a human thing. We should really have to actively work to not do it, to break out of your comfort zones and meet new people. And that's when the real fabric and beauty of the tapestry of your community comes to life, once you expose yourself to other people that you typically maybe wouldn't talk to that person from over there, right? So the beautiful thing about Facebook is that no one knew where anyone was from. So all you had is a little profile picture and a little name. You don't know if they're from this side of the street, that side of the street. You don't know what their job is. You don't know if what age they are. Are you a grandparent? Are you a child? No idea. So you completely leveled the playing field and made a clean slate for all this work to happen as a community.
Now that's quite interesting. So it neutralized.
Mhm.
That's quite interesting.
Yeah, and
I
it
never thought of that.
highlighted that we have so much more in common as a community than we do individually. You know what I mean? Like your
Yes.
assumptions shot out the window. Like I had my own. Oh no, they wouldn't want it to right? And then you start talking and you're like, wait, you're from where? Wow. And you meet in person and you're, wow, this is amazing. And you really come together. That's when you discover your actual community. So that's like, not your self-made one. This is your real community, right? And it's so rich and beautiful and fabulous. So that was a beautiful thing too. And then being able to do that kind of work together, taking the issues that the neighbors brought up in the Facebook group. That's how we started. Okay, give us the list. Give us your list. What are your things that you want to see changed, meaning residents, right? Then we would start breaking them down and we would go with the different departments and the different organizations or whatever that we could build bridges and solve some of these issues. Then we report back. And you always report back and you are always transparent. You have to be transparent. You can't play games. When you meet with the official, what they tell you, that's what you tell them. Right? And it becomes where the connections are made now through that report. So that resident who felt completely underserved, right, Diane? That resident who felt completely underserved ends up being able to feel like if Diane does this constantly, ends up beating up in our group, ends up being able to feel like they now have access to that person, right? Right? And that answer is available to them. And we didn't just answer the members. We would answer them and then tell them how next time they can get the information themselves and they could report back, right? So I think that, right, like, and that was it was quasi self-preservation. You can do this too. Because we went from 1,100 members to 5,000 in a few months. Yeah. It was a very fast growth. So, and then what ended up going on is that now when you are transparent, you are building your own integrity as an organization. You are who you say you are, right? You're not there to sabotage anybody. You're not there to play politics. It doesn't matter who, what party, whatever, does not matter because you have to work with everybody because they're all your officials, right? So you have to figure it out. So you stand on your own track record and your own integrity. And that honestly is how we built trust. So another tip, build trust, you build trust. You build trust with your experts, your officials, and you build trust also by reporting back to the community so that they coming through. And then if you can't come through, you're telling them why. Yeah. Right? Because people would things like I give you a quick example. A quick example would be a resident who came over and over and over again for a year and a half to the precinct meetings and complained about a problem house on his street where they were dealing drugs and there was prostitution. And for a year and a half, he continually told the inspector, he continually reported it in the hotlines. Nothing happened. They didn't do anything. The police did not act at all. So we learn, right? Where you're frustrated. Well, now you learn. Dana, can the police just show up and walk into your house?
No. There's a lot of misunderstanding about what the police can do. And no, they have to have, a lot of information built in. They have to have cause. They have to have, things that they see. And then they get the warrants, right? And then follow through. And the judge has to sign the warrant.
Exactly.
So it's not just easy peasy. Oh, I'm going to call up and then the police drive over and bang through the door. Right. We want these protections as society. But, sometimes it's frustrating as, neighboring homeowners when we don't have it.
Right. And then, Diane, in that situation, they were calling public safety, too.
Right.
What can public safety do? Public safety is the town, not the police department.
It's just a lot of you have to know who to call and what to ask. Well, you have to, and we try to do that all the time.
And how do we learn who to call and what to ask? By calling and asking.
We call police precinct daily, probably,
Yeah.
and we just learn. If you learn about, and you learn how your town works and who's working in your town and what they could do and who does what.
Right.
We're still confused on some of it. We always will be. There's a lot of things going on, but we try to get the right answer.
So in that situation, what we ended up realizing is police can't knock down the door. Public safety can't really do hardly anything. So we ended up having an in-person meeting, and we invited the public safety director to come and address the community. And he insisted on giving out these index cards to all of the residents and saying, write down all your concerns, right? Right? This was great. This was great. What's your issue? Tell me what the problem is, blah, blah, blah. So we had probably, I don't know, over 100 people in that meeting. And they wrote down all their index cards. I collected them at the end. I took them home. I typed them all up. I went to this up. I categorized them because, again, some people were complaining about things the police handle. Other things is New York State. Other things is the town of Huntington. So I broke it down, and then I emailed it out to everybody. Everybody, the people who were in attendance, all of the officials, the town board, the police department, all of the officials, all the way up to the highest rank where it went. I went into the office and I had a meeting with the director of public safety who had the presentation. I dropped off the index cards. He said, oh, come on over here. Let's talk, whatever. So we're talking about this house, right? This one house with this man who kept reporting it for 18 months. He said, you know, I have a report on that house. I said, you do? And he said, yeah. And he takes out this book and he goes, oh, look here. Here's the house. Look, here's the house. I got a report from the police department that they did this action, right, at this house. I said, that's amazing. But this was 4 months ago. And when did you get this report? And he said, I just got it this week. So I'm like, wait a minute. There's a 3-month delay between when the incident happens on the property and when the town was getting the report. So that was like, this seems really easy to fix, right? So the issue is the town had something on the books where it's called a Chapter 50, which I learned about from the director of public safety, where if a certain type of of illegal activity is happening on a property repeatedly in a 2-year period, it has to be a certain number of times. It has to be a certain level of an offense. If that activity goes on in a 2-year period, then the town can actually begin the process to take the property from the property owner by eminent domain. So it starts with a letter to the property owner that says this activity is going on. We're opening a Chapter 50 investigation. Now, this is on the town side. We're opening a Chapter 50 investigation. If we find that you've been allowing all this activity to go on, then we can actually take your house. So, boom! Guess who was moved out? The guy was gone. The guy was gone. So, like, and then working with him, you find out when was the last time a Chapter 50 was actually used and filed? 7 years before, once. So, like, this is a tool that the town has that can actually help facilitate the safety of the community, right? So, like, while the police couldn't get in and public safety couldn't get in, the town could then do this. And since then, we were able to ask the town to use this. And ultimately, it never goes to court because the property owners go, yeah, property owners just, like, not so much. Oh, yeah, that guy's not a good. And most of them didn't even live here. The property owners were outside of the state and were renting it out and had no idea what was going
The
on.
absentee landlords.
Yes. And then
Ah.
even a commercial landlord that we had that ran a strip mall that was a huge problem. And they ended up like this, responding to the Chapter 50, evicting the tenant, getting better tenants in there, problem solved. So, these are the things you learn about by having these conversations with ask the questions. No question is stupid. None. Because we're not taught. We're not taught in school about this level of civics.
Yeah, nobody learns civics.
We have no idea. You know,
Yeah.
no one knows how their local government works or the hierarchy or the county or whatever and your processes, and it takes so long to learn. And so anyway, so that and again, we report everything back.
Yes. Yes.
Report everything back to the members, and then we're all learning together.
So now you also were invited to California by Facebook. What took place there, and how did you get that invitation, and what did you learn?
That was pretty extraordinary.
It was wild.
That was 5 years after we formed, right? That was 2019. And Dana and I ended up going together. And what happened was I got this pop-up notification on my phone. I was moderating in the group.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And
Sometimes those messages come up and they're real, and it's a good thing. So
And it was like this weird
don't ignore it.
window that popped up that said, you've been selected to apply
Yeah.
to attend the 2019 Facebook Community Summit in Menlo Park, California. And I'm like,
I'm like, oh, don't even bother.
what is this nonsense? What is this? So ignore, right? Then I went to work, whatever. I come home. It's 11 o'clock at night, and it happened again.
Yeah.
And I'm literally laying, and I had till midnight to get the application in. I'm laying in bed. My husband's asleep, and I'm like this on my phone, typing away. And I submitted the application at 11:57 p.m. I messaged her, and I said, just so you know, they asked in the application, it said if there was someone else from your team who you would like to go. I put her name down and
Yeah.
ended up both being selected. So the questions, it was very simple. It's four or five questions. And they wanted to know if you like what impact your community, your Facebook group has made on your community.
Right.
So community can be a virtual community, right? It could be your Facebook membership. And for us, it was a real life experience. So what we shared about that impact ended up, we were selected. So it was a global summit, and only 430 admins from across the world were selected to attend, and we were two.
Oh,
among-
impressive.
Yeah, they flew us out. I mean, it was complete trip. It was very cool. They flew us out. They put us in a hotel. It was a long weekend. But then, like pretty much a couple of days after we found out that we were accepted to go, they reached out to me and asked if I would do a breakout presentation on our neighborhood watch and on our group. So the most impactful thing that I was able to share, and it was validated with police statistics, is that from 2014 when we formed to 2018 at the time of the summit, we had gone from the second highest crime rate precinct in our county of Suffolk County, New York, which is a tremendously huge county. We have 7 precincts. We were the second highest crime rate for decades and decades and decades, forever back. As long as they were monitoring it, we were the second highest. And we went in a 2-year period from 2014 to 2016. In 2016, we became the second lowest crime rate precinct in all of Suffolk County. And we had the statistics to prove it. And not only that, in 2016, we had 0 murders.
Yeah.
0. So I asked the inspector at the time, Inspector Scrimma, when was the last time that happened?
Yeah.
In Huntington Station now. Huntington Station, which is the highest crime rate pocket in our precinct, 11 years.
Yes.
Wow.
It had
Wow.
been 11 years since we had 0 murders in Huntington Station. And we can completely stand on that rock and say that was Neighborhood Watch.
Yep.
100% tangible, in real life, in person, community, neighborhood, kids being able to ride to the ice cream store now, parents not being afraid to stand at the bus stop with their kids. Absolutely tangible results of the impact of a little Facebook group on your real life community.
And getting people together, getting people talking, having people realize that they can call and ask for help, and it makes a difference finally.
Yeah, tremendous. So, since then, we went another 3 years with no murders. And then in 2019, Huntington Station, we had our first murder. We had some legislation change here locally, which some of the laws changed. There was bail reform, discovery reform. Most of it's very good. One thing does expose tipsters to potential danger and retaliation. So that kind of, made us take the foot off the gas on that a little bit because we didn't want to be responsible for that. We will never lead our neighbors into danger, ever. So I'm going to tip it to Diane now. Hi.
Hi.
So yeah, we will never lead our neighbors into danger. So we ended up just kind of like backing off and doing it a little bit more under the radar, taking tips from neighbors and things and passing them to the police. But at this point, this is our new normal, So we are now, our current mission is working with the police to develop like a really kind of safe way that neighbors can still contribute crime tips and suspicious activity going on without them necessarily having to put their name and address on it, which could be
Yeah.
back to them, which
Bec-
is
Because if I recall with the change now, there is, and this I believe is a state law with the bail reform, so it could be different elsewhere, is that when you file a report, the person that you're filing it against gets your name, address, and telephone number.
correct.
So there's no such thing as an anonymous phone call anymore.
Well, they have put things in place so that it can be anonymous again. And really, yeah, in speaking on our board, we have an attorney also. So in speaking to him at the time when all this was going on, the reality is that discovery reform, which means in layman's terms, that is when, say, Diane broke into your store.
Ron will not break into your store.
No, she would never. She's a rule follower.
Let's just say Diane's the local criminal, right? And I saw it and I put in a tip about it, right? The tip would be shared with Diane's attorney only when she's getting prepared for court. So the case would have, this is prior to the discovery reform changes. So what would end up happening is in the prep for court, then her attorney gets all the evidence from her crime. And then my tip goes in there with my name and address. So, but the thing is in Suffolk County, really 98% of cases don't go to trial.
That's true.
So what happens is you go plea bargain, Diane, I'm sorry, you're going to have to do community service. Are you okay with that instead of going to jail?
Definitely.
There you go. So now she doesn't have a trial. So that's what's going on. So now when they made the discovery reform, they changed it to where the attorney gets the documents within 14 days of the crime.
Ah.
No matter what, whether they're going to jail, whether they're pleading out. So honestly, in some ways you're like, well, if that's Diane, her lawyer is going to want everything so that when they're talking about a plea, right, she can get a more fair thing a more fair situation that's more favorable for her because now you know what the police has at this point when you're dealing with the plea because you got everything. But in reality, this attorney can hand her all that information because she has a right to all the information from her accusers, including my name and address and phone numbers. So that's where, it again, it was always given. It's not a new thing where suddenly they didn't get it and now they get it. It's just given a lot sooner. And honestly, we've been told by the police that while nobody will say I'm a victim of retaliation because I put in a tip about XYZ person and now this happened to me. No one is saying that, but the police know
No. Yes.
that it's happening.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
too obvious. So now I don't know if all three of you do the police training and the ride-alongs?
Yeah.
We did. Diane and Dana graduated last year, right? From
Last spring.
last spring. So why don't you tell them a
Yeah,
little bit
why
about it?
don't you tell us, Diane, how was the experience?
Oh, it was great. I would recommend everybody go to it. You sit in the regular police academy with instructors from the police academy, and they go through an overview of everything that's learned by the recruits. Of course, not down to the specifics, but in generalized form, you learn about everything from fingerprinting to how somebody gets arrested to what you can arrest somebody for, what you can't arrest somebody for, what's assault, what's battery. It's something that in our community, in the group, I find is so useful because people have a tendency to have their own ideas on why wasn't he arrested or why wasn't he charged with this? And we can go back from that as regular citizens and say, because this is the law of the police department, this is what they can do and can't do.
Right.
We did everything. We did ride-alongs. We did scenarios with guns, fake guns. And we just
You did the simulation,
we
right?
did simulations. And we met a bunch of really great people
Yeah.
that we've continued to work with since graduation.
Yeah.
But it's a great thing. Everybody should do it.
Yeah. And it's, you want to talk about the commitment, Diane? What was this? Diana, sorry.
It was
The Suffolk County commitment.
it sounds a little overwhelming at first, but yeah, it's 13 weeks, once a week. For us, usually it was in the evenings. Some of the classes are farther out east. Most of the classes are at Suffolk Community College, which is where the police academy is.
It's like 20 minutes away.
Yeah, it's 15, 20 minutes away, depending how fast you drive, traffic, rush hour. Some of them are out in the Hamptons. There's some that they're in Islip. I was hooked. I was completely addicted. I was in mourning when the classes were over. I was, what am I going to do with myself? I don't have class today.
So then we joined the alumni
We
group.
joined the event, but it was honestly, I can't talk enough about it. It was one of the coolest things I've ever done. I would get home from class and my family couldn't shut me up. If we did one of the big field trips, I'd come home and I was talking about it nonstop, and I'm sending everybody pictures of everything. It was really, actually, as a graduate, you can go back and take classes again.
Yeah.
So, when my ad comes down, I want to just jump in and take a few more of the classes, like maybe some of the field trip classes.
Yeah, the field trip to the bus. So now I don't know if every police department offers this. Really, if they don't, they should, right? It's called the Civilian Police Academy. And if you Google it for Suffolk County Police Department, just Google that, literally, Suffolk County Police Department, Civilian Police Academy. There's a page on their website which has the application. Suffolk County runs 2 classes a year. They run a spring one and a fall one. And the things you learn are unbelievable. And you do get to see the doggies.
Yes, you do.
You get to see the doggies. Everyone loves the doggies. And the helicopter, the medevac, that was very cool. But no, yeah. So, but I do know, again, from adminning and meeting people from across the country, that other police departments do offer this, and you should definitely take advantage of it. Suffolk County, they actually do a background check on you if you're going to take the class, which is a good thing. But that any,
Yeah.
we all thank God there was no Facebook when we were kids. You're gonna cut that out. You're cutting that out.
So now you did the 6-month. All 3 of you did the training with Parent Leadership Initiative, which was about a 6-month commitment. You did the Police Academy, which was a 4-month commitment.
Yep,
5
4
months.
months.
You
Yeah.
flew out to California and interfaced with Facebook. Have you been able to participate in any other programs where you were able to be trained or educated, or has most of it from there been asking the questions?
Well, what we also do is anytime we can, we attend the workshops that are offered. There's so much kind of stuff you get on the email list with your county legislators, your state representatives, and other organizations that kind of provide services that overlap with what we do. So, for instance, the three of us attended an all-day workshop recently on it's called sextortion, and it was the financial version of that, and it's actually a form of human trafficking. So we're learning a lot more about it because as community leaders, and also, I mean, it's definitely not new, but you know, there are nuances to what makes something human trafficking and what doesn't, and it has honestly nothing to do with people crossing uh jurisdictions or borders or territory or anything. And our children are victimized, and our parents, look, the three of us have been doing this 10 years,
Right.
and we learned a lot of new stuff. So we're taking that back to our community, educating our community, because we need to, as a community, look out for the signs so that we can kind of, close the net of all of this stuff, getting access to our kids, and make it safer. So,
But we do attend or try to attend some informative
Yeah.
teaching class, a couple of them a month at least. And you work with various organizations. If the Family Service League is having a seminar, we're going to sign up and go. That way we learn for ourselves and we learn for the community as well.
If you were in another community, where would you look for this type of programming? Would you Google it? Would you make a phone call? How would you?
Always get hold of your local representatives, your legislators and your town boards, and they have all the information about in every town.
And we also learned a lot by attending various events where there are resource tables.
Right.
So that's where we met, Mary Silverstein, and we've learned all kinds of things, from the charities to the other organizations from neighboring towns that cover things in our town as well. Like this one for the sextortion was run by ECLI Vibes.
Right.
And they are one of the providers of the crime victim services where they work with the police department. So if you're a victim of a crime, then you immediately get free counseling, free all kinds of support to help you get through it. And as a family too. And they do addiction stuff. So what I would recommend is find the largest, like, kind of human services agency or organization in your area. Get on the email lists from them. Like for us, it's Family Service League, and Family Service League works with ECLI. At the town level, we learned really a lot about ECLI from our Huntington Drug and Alcohol Task Force department within the town of Huntington. So once you start going to the various events, those resource tables where those poor people sit like this behind the tables.
With the
Nobody comes
little
over.
No
flyers.
one comes. No one comes. So you're at, a festival or a fair, and there's the poor little housing help girl sitting in a corner next to the tethers for the ride, the inflatable ride. Her table's in between. No one is coming to talk to her. We go talk to her. We take the papers. We exchange
That's
cards.
me.
Yep. Exactly. We take papers, we exchange cards, we get on email lists, and that's how we learn. And you just continually connect because people move through positions,
Yeah.
things change, funding appears from nowhere, and now they can offer way more programming than they did before.
I would also suggest that go to your community events, whatever even ribbon cuttings. You end up sitting down and talking to someone about something completely different than whatever's going up the ribbon cutting, because you're there and you got FaceTime with people. And people will say, "Oh, well, you guys just have special access." We didn't start out that way.
No.
We have special access because we happen to know them, because we've spent time after time after time seeing them at events.
Right, but nobody's ever turned away. But I will tell you, the business card collecting, that is one of the biggest avenues for me. I always take the cards, I write little notes on the back.
Yep. I got a binder.
Because once a community advocate always a community advocate.
Right.
And so even if that person moves to another position or works
Right.
for another organization, they are now in your network.
Right.
And the passion never goes away.
I keep it in a little envelope. My binders better. Your binders are better. Definitely. That's what I call them. I go, what was that guy's name? Where do we meet that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. And especially if you want to get into advocacy, it is great to have that, because when that person calls and asks for help, somewhere in that pile there
Right, yeah.
is someone that can help them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it, what's good about the community is that you don't have to have a niceness. You can just pick up the phone and say, look, I've got a problem. But you don't have to say, how's your day? How are you? You don't have
Right.
to worry, oh, I haven't talked to that person in 10 years.
Right.
Because everybody is there for the same reason.
Exactly.
And if they don't know it, they will help you find somebody that does.
Yep.
So that connectivity is always there. So now, you've talked about how you get yourself involved. Are there particular projects that you have found very rewarding? Is there a particular story that you might want to share, or something that just keeps your heart beating to get up the next day and do it all over again?
Huntington Matters Gives Back is funded by a local sponsor who pays $500 a month, and that $500 goes into a fund that we then use to fulfill wish list items in the community. And we nonprofit nonprofits or projects too, right? I'm gonna pull this a little bit.
Well, people in crisis.
Or people in crisis. We've done it when people have lost home things in a fire. We go get them gift cards and things like that. There was a small charity called Brett's Bicycle Recycle that was, I don't know if you remember them, right, Lisa? Yeah, love those girls. That was started because one of the girls lost her brother in a motorcycle accident, and he was an active cyclist too. So we ended up doing this Huntington Matters Gives Back with a local bike store. That's our focus too.
Right.
Is when we fulfill these wish list items, we use local businesses that are owned by neighbors, right? Not big box stores. That's too easy, right? So we went to this local bike shop and we got them their wish list items through this bike shop. And that bike shop ended up tripling the donation. Tripling it. So we had $500 to spend. They gave them $1,500 in parts, helmets, supplies. It was
Amazing.
unbelievable. And over and over again, the community shows up like that for us. We do an annual, through the Huntington Matters Gives Back, we do an annual donation to the homeless. It's called Operation Enduring Care, which is like a program within the American Legion, where they collect toiletries and supplies for homeless veterans that are transitioning through housing or out of the VA and going back home, things like that. So we deliver that kind of a donation every Christmas time to them. But again, the local stores, they always, 30% more, 100% more they give us when we go in there, and we tell them what we're doing. And we don't line anything up necessarily in advance. We kind of like make a call. Hey, it's Huntington Matters. We're doing this donation thing. We're going to come down and shop at your store. We'll do a little bit of a live video while we're shopping to give the store visibility for their generosity. And then we end up doing a video when we deliver it. And there was, if I can tell you how many people cry,
Yeah.
Lisa, $500.
It makes a big difference.
Right?
It really makes a difference.
We did the Maggie Matters.
Right.
The Maggie, oh God, what was the name of it? You know the Maggie one.
Maggie's Mission.
Maggie's Mission. Thank you. I'm going to do it again. Ready? Dana, we did the Maggie's Mission one at Subaru. Do you remember that? Subaru.
Yeah. And brought everyone down. And
all we did, we gave them, tell them about what they do.
they what is it? Oh,
The health families with kids with
kids with cancer and finding cures.
Right. Because they lost their daughter Maggie to a rare pediatric cancer. Yeah. Okay. You give us that again.
Come back to that.
We'll get that file.
All right, get your.
But we also we help out. We do a lot of helping out, like we did Pink in the Park, and we work with our local Congress people, and we helped put together a Pink in the Park program with Teresa Mari, and we helped with the senior prom
We did that.
at the senior center, and
Yeah, that was really.
they asked us, they told us what they needed. We went to the community. This is what we need. Who wants to donate? We had 500 little pink rocks that people in our community painted
They painted.
and gave to us to give to this.
And we're talking about, you know how many posts it took to get all that? 2 posts.
Yeah.
2 posts per event. 2 posts, senior prom. The whole entire thing was catered for 200 people. Goodie bags were made, decorations. It was unbelievable. So you give the community an opportunity to give back.
Oh, everybody was.
They dive right in. And everybody, even like a one woman who doesn't have a business, she just has a ton of costume jewelry that's brand new that she never used, like a ton. And she was like, here, give it to the ladies for the prom. And we, and it's just, it's wonderful. It's so wonderful. So you tap into the community. In the early days of Huntington Matters Gives Back, we used to poll the community.
Right.
We would find out from 3 different organizations what their wish list items were. We would make a poll, and we would let the community pick from the top 3. They pick their favorite, and then that's who we would give the money to. Now it's just the volume is so high that we have that we just pick it and we report back and tell them what we did. But we have to add that up. We've done, since 2019.
Oh, it's been.
We've done a lot.
Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars we've given back, and we pick the little guy.
Yeah, we want community organizations from Huntington. We don't want the big corporation or the big organization that's getting donations from everywhere else. We want the little guy that gets forgotten and looked over.
Right.
And that makes it, and we know it makes a difference because we see them.
Right. And then recently we got an email from the town that is they're gonna start a like a little bit of a boutique for pause that.
The girls.
We can't really talk about it
I know.
actually.
You can't.
We can't talk
I
about that
was
one.
gonna say, please don't.
Yeah, we're not allowed to talk about that one.
Okay.
What's the other
So,
one?
and while we're on a pause, can you talk? I know we're kind of jumping around a little bit, but it's organically really good. You just made a special announcement about something. Is that something that you can discuss?
About the directory? You mean our website?
You're going to do another project that you just took on. Is that
No,
an
we
app
can't talk
or a
about-
directory or
you
something
just
like
said-
that?
No, the
You
directory.
said you had a big announcement a few weeks
Oh,
ago.
what was the direct?
Yeah, that's the directory. Yeah. Or at the calendar. So let's talk about that. Yeah.
Okay.
And
So
then we can also talk about, I don't know if you want to talk about, well, it's all kind of looped in.
Can cut it.
It's all looped in. Okay, ready. Okay,
Okay.
go ahead. So just say
What else are you working on?
just
yeah,
say,
that's
well,
okay.
yeah.
So, I'm curious. You've talked about a lot of the projects you've done over the 10 years. What do you have coming down the pike? Can you share something that might be happening in the near future?
Yes, we are super, super proud of this website that we created. We have our own website at huntingtonmatters.com. And we started it basically because Facebook changed things in the group and made it so much more difficult to organically find certain bits of information that the community were relying on, like upcoming events, for instance, right? So we all know our algorithm has changed in our social media feeds over the last few years. They're delivering the material to us in different ways. It's really personalized. There's no way to game the system as an admin anymore. You just can't. So less people are seeing the events, and we really were getting constant complaints. What do you mean? Like, what, you're at this thing right now and you're doing a video. I'm going, and I didn't even know about it. Meanwhile, you post it every day for a week, and it's not necessarily getting to that person. So we decided to be the solution again, right? So we created the huntingtonmatters.com website, and the number one thing we've had on there for over a year is our calendar, our community calendar. So Diane actually can tell you more about that because she runs the calendar.
If you have an event or there's an event going on and you want it posted on our calendar, we will get the information from you. We'll take your flyer. We'll put everything we need to know down. And then twice a week in the group itself, we will highlight every event that's happening for the next 3 or 4 days. We've had, oh my goodness, there's some weeks that I've had 200 events going on. It's like insane lately.
Yeah.
There's so much going on in Huntington, but now people could just go to the calendar and see what's going on in the next 3 or 4 months.
And it's all in my
place.
place.
That,
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's something that I was asking for way back when.
Yes.
Yes.
Because, depending on the family and people's interests, there are always projects going on, and it's hard to figure it all out. So that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, and this one you can sort by keyword, you can search by keyword, you can sort by category. We have probably 150 categories of every kind of thing you would possibly want. All the registration links are built into the calendar event, so there's a button right there. You can actually add it right into your own iCal or Google Calendar from the website too. And next up will be an email subscription for event categories that people will be able to sign up for pretty soon. So that's the one thing that we worked on, and it's ongoing. The other thing that I built, it took me 6 months because I had never built a website before in my life.
It was a labor of love.
It was a labor of love, and I have my technical background. I am not afraid of computers. I'm not afraid of technology. I am, like I said, graphic arts and marketing, but never built a website in my life. So I took me 6 months. I blew it up a few times. I'm sorry, Diane. She lost her calendar, baby, a dozen times. Like, so, but I did. I had to build it from all the individual components, and I built a directory. So that is the other need that we have in our Facebook community group and our physical community, is that every single day, at least 3 times a day, people are posting asking for recommendations. So they'll, oh, does anybody have a plumber? Does anybody have this kind of a doctor? Do I need to do a private party for 50 people? Who do you recommend? I want a cake made, things like that.
What restaurant has gluten-free food?
What restaurant?
Right, has
That's what I
gluten-free
need.
food.
I have hives to prove it.
So now, is this on the page or
This
on the
is on our
website?
website also. Yes. So that was a new addition to our website just right before Thanksgiving. So it's at huntingtonmatters.com. There's a tab at the top that says directory. You can search the directory for kind of like anything you need, any local business. Right now, every town of Huntington business gets a free listing. And then if they wanted to upgrade their listing, and also businesses outside the town of Huntington now have access to our community because they
Ah,
can do a low cost paid listing, and then they'll be in our directory as well. So, but if there's 2 different tiers where you can customize and add more things like photos, videos, more links, hotline numbers, and then we're also really, as you could tell, passionate about our community knowing about charities that are in our town that you can either volunteer with, right? Donate to as a company, or if you have a need, that it can fill a need that you might have. So in our directory, we have a free charity and worship listing type, which is very robust. It has the photos. It's the basic type, but it's free for them. So it has the photos, a big description, lots of links, things like that they can use. And then where the goal is to keep all of the recommendations that for the businesses people love in our group and have them all live in one place, right? Because right now, when someone recommends their favorite plumber, 2 days later, someone else is asking for the plumber, but you're not on to recommend your favorite plumber, right? So now that your favorite plumber doesn't get mentioned, whereas
Kudos
2 days
again.
ago,
Right.
your favorite plumber got mentioned 5 times,
And
right?
you don't want to keep saying, well, you can search.
Well, right. And then people search doesn't work. Yeah, exactly. Facebook. So honestly, the website features are where Facebook is maybe not performing so
Is
great
lacking.
anymore. That's
Okay.
we've
Okay.
supplemented with the website. And then the other thing we've had to learn over the years is that if you're going to run a community group that's based on social media, that uses social media, you can't be a slave to the statistics.
Right.
You just can't, because Facebook is a business as well. So that was another thing that we were honored to participate with. We were selected to be beta testers for new features for Facebook. And one of them was the new public groups experience, which was a complete overhaul to the way public groups were. And underneath that was the new AI that now everybody can't stand. You can cut that if you want, but but anyway, so really you can't be a slave to the statistics, because the social media platforms, they are running a business. So they're reporting statistics in a certain way that benefits them more than you. So right now, it may look like, oh, I have this post that's going viral, et cetera, et cetera. And then in 2 months, you're like, how come only 26 people are seeing my post when I have a group of 38,000, right? It's just not possible. And we have the grocery store metric,
Yeah.
which most communities you don't have. If you're running a fan group, right, or a photography group that's nationwide or global, you're not going to hear.
No one knows you.
The admins aren't going to hear from the members, right? But when we're in the grocery store or at a ribbon cutting
Or in the school classroom.
and someone, comes up to you and starts talking to you about things they saw in the group.
Oh, you're from Huntington Matters.
Right, and I love this, and this happened, and let me tell you about that.
And it usually happens when you're in sweatpants and you didn't go say
Or with no makeup on and your hair is
for sure. But it's so worth it because the smiles on their faces.
Yeah.
I met someone the other day in line and she just said, oh, look, to her friend, there's Diane from Huntington Matters. And I'm like, oh, must be that lady because I don't have makeup on today. But it was good talking to you. You get to meet so many people. That's another great thing.
Right.
And then check out the calendar because there's more coming to it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
We have
awesome.
a lot
That's
of more things we're going to go. We got to give us a little break. There's only 3 of us.
Yeah.
But we have a lot coming down the pike.
that's
Yeah,
awesome.
Definitely. Yeah, it's a little unnerving to be discovered and spoken to, because they come up to you like they know you.
Yeah.
Because you're in their house. You're at the kitchen table. You're with them on their lunch breaks. They see your face. They see your videos, your photos, whatever. So, you're just kind of like, hi, But like, they walk away and my husband's like, how do you know them? I'm like, I don't.
I know that's my worst. It's like I recognize them, but from where? And sometimes people will just walk up and start this conversation with you, and you don't want to look like, who are they? Was it from this volunteer? Was it from this? Was it from school? Was it from, a project I worked on? And you're like trying to figure it out, but I find that you just embrace them and you get into the conversation, and at some point you remember. But I think what's funny is that, like, my husband is not known as Mr. Rappa. He is known as Lisa Rappa's husband. So I think it's amusing. So before we go, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I ask this at the end of every interview in 2025. And I'd love if each one of you would give me your own thoughts. What do we need to do to make America healthy again, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally through stronger community bonds and support?
For me, it's just get out there, get with your community, and don't make assumptions about other people. Go into meeting other people believing that, people are good. Because for the most part, most people are good. That's what we've found getting out there is people really, really have good hearts. And they're amazing, and most of them want to help you and want to work with you.
Yeah, exactly. For me, I have to agree with Dana, honestly. I really do. I don't pay attention to national things at all because my brain is so full of local that that's all I have the capacity for, to be honest. So I don't keep track of any of that. And for me, hyper local is your world. While national matters, it really does, and it's very important. The things that have the biggest impact on your life are your local officials, your local elections, your local organizations, your school districts. So, if you want to change something in your community, that's where you start. Yes, go vote. Yes, pick a president, all that stuff. Very important. But definitely get to know your local leaders, even if you don't know them personally, get to know about them when they're running for office. And that's it.
I think working together, you have to work together as a community. You have to step outside your box and just go listen to another presentation that you normally wouldn't go to. Go listen to see what they have to say. Go listen to a church or a place of worship that you would normally not go to, because you'll figure it out. Everybody has the same wants and needs. We all want to be together, and we want our town to run good, and we want our country to be great. So if you work together, you'll find places where you can all relate without getting into the other. And yes, we do have a strict no politics rule in our group, because even with our no politics group,
No national.
no national politics, even with that statement, at least 5 times a day, somebody posts something about national or comments with national politics. We remove it. It's not needed. It's not necessary. We don't need it to work together.
Right, exactly. And one of the things that Huntington Matters has done since the very beginning that we're very proud of is our candidate interviews.
Yeah.
So that has been incredibly meaningful to the community and as a whole. And what we do is we don't do a debate. We invite each candidate to sit with us. We come up with a list of questions that we actually poll the community and ask them through our group to submit their questions, anything that they want to know for the various positions that'll be on the ballot. Each candidate gets the same list of questions. We do a live interview with them and post it in the group. And
And our YouTube channel.
we have a YouTube channel also.
Oh, you have a
that's
YouTube channel. And
Yeah.
what is the channel?
It's in Huntington Matters.
Right.
Yeah. And that's also where we have all of our police precinct meetings. Every month we video record the police precinct meetings for the community so that if people can't go, they can find out what's going on in the
That's
precinct.
excellent.
Yeah.
So
So
you can catch up.
the other, you know, the other impact that we had, our organization, unintended, honestly, completely unintended consequence to Huntington Matters Facebook group being so highly engaged, is that the town board in 2014, when we formed, everyone on that town board was there for at least 10 years. At least 10. One guy was pretty new. the supervisor and the other town board members, at least 10, 15, 20 years they were there. Nearly immediately after the conversation started really flowing in the Facebook group, the election turnout in 2014 was only 19% voter turnout for town of Huntington. In subsequent years, you have the community engaging a lot more, and they're going to the poll and they're picking the people that they want there from the offerings. You have more people stepping forward to run who are regular neighbors, right? Not necessarily lawyers and seasoned political professionals. And honestly, the town board is completely different than what it was. In just a few years after we formed,
Right.
all the seats flipped, not flipped party, but changed. And now we have term limits, right? We didn't have term limits before. The community demanded term limits. We have term limits now. And really, the town board is a much more accurate reflection of the community's choices because now the community is involved. And in the last election, it was presidential though, so that kind of we had like a 63% voter turnout.
Wow.
For the presidential election. In a non-presidential, we're definitely in the high 30s, 40% turnout rate. So moving that needle has been a tremendous accomplishment also as a result of the community being able to connect and engage. And all the local officials do post in our group and comment. Something's going on, a decision's made, boom, they post right to us immediately because they know that, that's how they're going to really engage with the community.
That's what I do when something's going on in the community. I don't turn on the news.
Jack Huntington Matters.
I go to the Facebook page because I know that's where it's going to be before anybody else knows about it.
It's
So
really
I,
good because
I
we
mean,
do have
that
a
is
lot
a
of people that
service right there for the community because
we
you
use
get
a
it.
lot of resources from other people. We're not a news organization. We use a lot of information from Huntington Now. Pam does a great job. We
Yes.
share her articles, News 12 articles. But if somebody really needs to know what's going on, how much snow are we going to get? You better check it out.
As we wrap up today's conversation, I encourage you to check out Huntington Matters Community Forum on Facebook or go to their YouTube channel, or you can go to their website that has all of the incredible resources. Whether you're local to the area or just seeking some inspiration to start something similar in your own community, please get involved and make a difference. As you can see from the efforts of just a few community members, you can change your community with just your heart and your soul and a little bit of time. Ladies, thank you so much. I know it was not easy for the three of you to give me your time. I feel very privileged that you were available to share this time with me, and I hope that you'll join us again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you a lot, Lisa.
Thanks for inviting us.
Thank you.
Thank you. And for everyone else, I want to remind you that this is the Longevity Health Initiative. We're exploring pathways to lifelong vitality. Stay committed to your health, your well-being, and most importantly, your community. And please don't forget to like, follow, and comment so that we know what information you would like from these wonderful ladies the next time they come on. Thank you.